Good morning, everybody. Is this on? Can you hear me? Okay, great. So I'm so thrilled to be here. You know how much passion I have for this space and the people who are in it. So I'm really honored to be able to talk to you about my passion and our shared passion, really. So in order to talk to you about, or to talk with you about transformative technology, we actually have to start by talking about leadership and fear. And we have to ask ourselves the question, how do we prepare ourselves to be what the future requires that we be? This is the question of transformative leadership. Because the issue and one of the challenges and opportunities of life is that I believe that we all have gifts. And as we live, we uncover our gift. Our first task is, one, to uncover our gift. And our second task is to master our minds to the extent that we can deploy that gift reliably and ultimately for the benefit of all mankind. And so our collective gifts are actually the inheritance and the legacy of our entire species. And every gift that is lost is actually a tangible loss for each of us. And so that leads us to the topic of fear. Fear hijacks the mind. It takes us offline. It removes our ability to negotiate, collaborate, and create with one another. You've heard this quote, "Nothing to fear but fear itself." More recently, Peter Diamandis from Singularity, the amygdala searches for fear. The news cycle, 24 hours fear. This is a political rally. And if you step back from the anger that you see with these two sides, you realize that these people, they're actually afraid. Because what seems like hate, it's actually fear. We are one of the most medicated societies in history. 1 in 10 Americans is on antidepressants. The World Health Organization estimates that by 2030, depression will be the leading disease burden. And you see, this relates to fear because fear and stress has major implications. So as Jeffrey mentioned, where I came from is that I was a senior executive and in video games, and I was living the life. And I thought I was pretty fearless. This is me fighting, actually. I've had two fights, right? So fought, jumped out of airplanes, trapeze. I thought I was pretty fearless until I wasn't afraid. I also thought I was happy until I tasted what true happiness is when the mind doesn't push or pull in the natural state. And this was from the meditation retreat that Jeffrey mentioned to you. So I went on this meditation retreat, and on the other side of the retreat, I had to find out what happened to me. I now know that part of my fearlessness came from a dramatic decrease in rumination and self-referential thinking. Because the inner voice that makes most of us afraid, it would be great if it mostly talked about particle physics, but it doesn't. It talks about other things, and those are the things that scare us. And so I walked out of this retreat wanting to know what happened to me, wanting to share it with all the people that I loved, and also wanting to scale it through technology. I wanted people to have happy and fearlessness, and to scale that through technology. So I came back to the US and co-founded the Transformative Technology Lab with Jeffrey. And we do 3 things at the lab. We do basic research, we create community, of which this conference is a part. We also have an industry and an academic advisory board, and we also bring and bridge hardware and software. And we create resources for entrepreneurs. As Jeffrey mentioned, on Thursday, we had a day for our entrepreneurs that are designated in the TransTech 200. And so our goal is to increase the probabilities of their success. It's the barn raising that we talked about last year that we're all doing together. This is the barn raising. And Jeffrey laid out for you at the beginning just all of the incredible progress that has happened in a year. Jeffrey and I also have started the Finder's Course. This is our own transformative technology product. And this year, we're adding biodata with Muse, Polar Heart Strap, Neuromore, and Mindfield GSR. Another important piece of the puzzle to share with you is last summer, I attended Singularity's University's GSP Global Summit, Global Solutions Program. And it was a fantastic program. What was really striking about it, so it was a 10-week program, and all day, every day, some of the most extraordinary people in the world came in to talk about the work that they were doing in exponential technology or in the grand global challenges that are facing mankind. These are people who, on the grand global challenge side, they're working in the refugee camps, sleeves up, or they're working on solving water, like really on it, or they're working on AI or something. It was really a mind-blowing experience. But the question that I asked was, what was your greatest challenge? And almost to a person, their greatest challenge, the story that they told, was about a human problem. Something either about fear, their own or someone in their lives, or your resistance, or the inability for people to collaborate together, for them to create the vision that they were trying to create. And so my conclusion from that was that abundance, creating an abundant future, it's not a technical challenge. It's a human challenge. So we've put a man on the moon. We've done so many extraordinary things. Anything that mankind focuses on, we're so creative, we accomplish. So why not mental and emotional well-being enabled by technology, because we have to have scalable solutions in order to reach everyone as quickly as possible. And this is not optional. The challenges that face us as a society require that we are all online in terms of creativity, collaboration. We've got to lower the fear. And so that leads us to transformative technology. With the TransTech 200, this is one thing I wanted to say. So one last point. Sustainable endeavors require markets, real companies, and awesome products that work. So my vision, and Jeffrey's vision, and many of the people here, is that I want people to be able to walk into a Best Buy, online, offline, whatever it is called in the future, and get what they need to support them mentally and emotionally. And so one of the things that I'm particularly proud of in our community is that we have a grow the pie mindset, or make multiple pies, in the sense that we are all here to support one another. My dream is to grow the usage so that people think about the products that you make when they have a challenge. So, what's amazing about this community is the way that people help each other. There doesn't have to be one device. There should be many devices, because there are so many different types of people who are going to need different types of things. So to lay out the market for you, now I'll get into the business side. But that first part was to show you why the work that you do is so important. And it's not optional. So the first question is, what are people willing to do to have less of this and more of this? And the answer is a lot. So these are various markets that I think show that people are already trying to solve these problems. They're already trying to address these needs. And so the question is, why now? Why is this the moment now for transformative technology? And to go deeper into it, I'll just use one case: stress. Stress is accelerating. This is the 2015 Stress in America report. Stress is accelerating. It's global. If you think it's just Americans, it's not. It's all over the world. This chart is from a study that was done on 100,000 employees at large corporations, and you can see the dramatic increases in stress across the world, very high in China. And then across age groups, you might say it's an adult thing. No, it's not. Children and teens are experiencing big increases in stress. It's estimated that results in a $300 billion in the US alone cost for healthcare cost and productivity. And in the United States, unpaid medical bills is the main cause of personal bankruptcy. That includes a lot of other issues and diseases, but there is a tie between stress and illness. On the technology side, we have exponential technologies that are coming online. There are things that are cheaper now than ever. And so you see it in the variety of the devices that are showing up. In addition, the number of people who now can start companies, so many costs are going down, and all of these areas are accelerating. And then there are medical trends that are happening, where we're having dramatic advances in neuroscience, and digital medicine is becoming commonplace. Biology and bioinformatics, more progress every day. And then I think what's especially inspiring is that the well-established areas are already quite valuable. When you put those on top of the exponential technologies where they're going out into the world in a major way, we start to begin to have many, many, many more products. And there's also some tech-driven service trends where the expectations of the consumers have changed. We're moving into personalized nutrition, personalized medicine, and we think ultimately, it's one of the things that we're doing with the Finder's Course, personalized meditation. There's a natural progression of technology. We spent the last 20 years really focused on efficiency, productivity, doing more and more, faster and faster. And there's a certain maturation that happens when people begin to say, what else can this do for us? Moving from efficiency to quality. So there's a natural progression where we ask, what else can technology do for us? We're a very curious species, so we always ask the next question. These are the four questions, there's probably more, that I think really underlie transformative technology. How can I use technology to understand myself better? How can I use technology to understand you better? How can we connect in a deeper way? We are ultimately a very social species. We long to be together. And so how can technology support us in that? And I love this definition. Technology is a force that takes something scarce and makes it abundant. So why not the same for mental and emotional well-being? Scalable, accessible, affordable, abundant. So I put this up, as kind of a joke, but not really. So I say, oh, then this happened. One of the things that's really required for any sector to grow is that you have to have the talented entrepreneurs and the open-minded investors in this space too. And so many people here have been meditating for a long time, but there's a certain amount of momentum that is required to create a market. And one of the things that's happening with organizations like The Path and Ravi's organization that he talked about last night is now that meditation is becoming a thing that was bigger than it's been in the past, more and more people are coming in. They're having experiences, and like me, they're leaving what they had done before because they want to enable digital well-being. They want to create happiness and fearlessness at scale. And this has happened before, so there's precedent. Wearables, which now it's a word that's broadly out there, it really is the evolution of the quantified self market. And so this has happened before, and Tim Chang, who spoke last year, was very early in wearables, because he was a quantified selfer before that. As an individual, he was really into that. And these you might recognize from last year when Tim Chang laid out the sort of 10 areas that he thought were interesting. These are areas of supporting technology for TransTech. And many of you might recognize your company's modality here. I see human well-being on a spectrum, and I think this is really important. A lot of the times, the way people talk about mental health and mental well-being and optimization, they talk about it like there's these islands. And it's not. It's a spectrum. At any point in our lives, we or someone that we love can be anywhere on this spectrum. And you might be multiple places. And so what's really fascinating and amazing about transformative technologies is that many of them have multiple use cases in that they can be used to help people in need, and they can also be used to help very healthy people reach greater and greater levels of well-being and self-understanding. So it's like the vest that David Eagleman talked about yesterday. Having the ability to help people who cannot see, but also having the ability to help perfectly healthy people experience greater sensory inputs. The same thing, so it's really fascinating. So you're working across the spectrum. Everything that you're working on has multiple use cases. And I think there's some other interesting trends. Many people give millennials a hard time. I love millennials. They are so passionate about changing the world and saving the world. And they also, I think, have a really good idea about balance in that they're actually willing to spend a fourth of their disposable income on well-being. This is really important for you, for the products that you're making. There's a natural surge coming up. In addition, I mentioned the trends in meditation that we're seeing that I think really speak to the desire and demand for support. This is one of the ways that people are getting it. So this is what you should keep in mind. Demand exists already, and it's accelerating. There's a significant unmet need. There's major social and enterprise cost. So corporations and individuals are highly incented to get stress down because of the cost that it has. The enabling technologies are accelerating. The current technologies are already quite valuable. New knowledge is coming online every day. The social trends support it. Talented entrepreneurs are in the space. Investors are taking notice. And abundance requires it. So the wind is at your back. So I'd like to show you a little bit about the TransTech 200 class of 2016. Many of you are in the room. For those of you who haven't had a chance to really take a look at the website and dig around, this will give you a little bit of an overview of what we included in it, and this is important. So a couple of my favorites. I love emotion recognition. If you just think about any time you've been online or been on a phone with a bot and it didn't realize you were irritated and how much more irritated that made you. So what we're really going to want the technology around us to understand our emotional state and respond accordingly. Pattern recognition, I think, is fantastic. So Ginger.io, this is, your phone knows more about you than your mom. It knows when you wake up, it knows when you go to sleep, it knows how much time you spend on Facebook. One of the things that you may or may not know is that scroll speed is one of the things that's tracked. And so anything and everything that catches your attention. So right now, that's mostly used by advertisers, but why couldn't that be harnessed for the benefit of people, where you could subscribe and you could say what it is you wanted and have it support you in your goals for your aspirational self? You know, who is it you want to be? And to have your technology help you with that, not just, you know, scheduling this or scheduling that. Wearables are becoming very programmatic. I think that's great. All-in-one trackers. United Sciences, Tim mentioned this one yesterday. This earbud tracks everything. And I think that is going to result in some really interesting applications. Neurosignal stimulation, consumer EEG, digital medicine for cognition. Adam Ghazali spoke here last year. You guys are probably all aware of his video game that is in FDA trials right now for ADHD, but there's so many other applications. One of the other applications that's coming after that, because his products train the attention network, he has seen his products take the cognition for attention for people in their 70s back to the precision of people in their 20s. So that's not in trial yet, but it's coming. Behavior change, Modi is here. I love this product. I love this product. Every time you do something that you want to do and you touch it, it makes a noise and it vibrates and it coos, and you might seem like, oh, I don't know how that would help me change, but I tell you what, you love it. I love it. So Modi's here. The opposite side is Pavlok, which shocks you whenever you do something you don't want. They're on the list. Applications for mental health. X2AI is early, but there's no doubt that we're going to be using AI to support people with mental health issues. Emotion tracking, you heard from Phil yesterday. VR, you're going to hear a VR panel today, and I believe we have Android drones coming too. Haptics, I love haptics. These rings are great. 2 people wear them, and it's got the heartbeat of whoever you're paired with. So as long as you're connected to the internet, wherever you are in the world, you can hear the heartbeat or feel the heartbeat of your partner. Actually, that's going to be your wedding present. And then focus at will. I love it. I use this product every day to help me concentrate. There's going to be more games. Happify, with a very simple interface, they're seeing huge surges in positive well-being. Meditation apps, stress management. So I would say the takeaways that you should have is that there's a widening definition. When we first put this list up, one of the companies that's on it is Google. Google's doing amazing things, and someone was like, explain to me why this is, and I was like, oh, well, all of these different departments are approaching well-being in different ways. And so there's going to be widening definitions of well-being and how you approach it. You're also going to see convergence, multi-sensor devices. So one of the reasons why we programmed the conference so that you would be able to see a scientist and entrepreneurs in all the different major modalities that are available today is because even if your device today only uses HRV, you might be putting GSR in it. So there's this convergence of devices. In addition, there's going to be virtualization. So many of you, you may or may not have seen, one of the people on the list is Ming-Zur Po from MIT, and they published about 3 or 4 weeks ago in Nature on being able to pick up emotional state through Wi-Fi. It's really amazing. I mean, it's very early, but it's the beginning. So you're going to see a virtualization, some hardware converting into software, and non-healthcare companies pivoting into well-being. So United Sciences is a very interesting example. They're on the list because that earpiece is fantastic. It wouldn't have been possible before exponential technologies because and their story is that they actually used to be, or they're a contractor for the US government. They make ear protection for people, and they use 3D printing to make perfect fit ear protection. And because of that, they're actually able to pick up very baseline brain waves through the ear. And so now they're interested in well-being as they look for use cases for how to take ear protection to wider markets. And then last would be globalization and major demand in China and India. One of the people that you'll hear from later on our investor panel is an investor in China. And they recognize these stress trends and are looking to get ahead of it. So to bring us to a close, we all know that meditation is a powerful tool. And what I find so amazing about it is the first thing it does is it changes the relationship with oneself and with your own fear. Then it reduces the volume and the frequency of the voice in the head that creates fear. And then it ultimately can actually, there's some studies that suggest it can actually reduce the seat of fear itself and the effect that it has on the amygdala. And there's been some studies on this, and it's certainly my personal experience. And so scaling the reduction of fear, it may not be through meditation, but through other things, like how do we scale the reduction of fear in society? And I would say, and you guys have heard me say this before, there is no more nobler use of technology than to bring peace to the minds of mankind. This is it. This is what it's about. And there's an opportunity in that, an opportunity for businesses that serve and are also real businesses and sustainable businesses that can employ people and allow more people to come into this field. And we can create abundance. And so the spectrum looks like this. People all over the world, all different types of people, finding peace and joy and creating with one another. We have a world in need and a room in here filled with talented and extraordinary people. I'm so honored to be in your presence. Thank you.